Hello and welcome to the third installment of the Purdue Technology Alumni Speaker Series. My name is Joe Lampinen. I'm a member of the Purdue Technology Alumni Board and a graduate of the Department of Technology Leadership and Innovation. I earned my Master of Science degree in Technology back in 2015. The Alumni Speaker Series is a joint collaboration between the Purdue Polytechnic Institute and the Purdue Technology Alumni Board. The purpose of the Purdue Technology Alumni Board is to support the efforts of Purdue Polytechnic Institute, formerly the College of Technology, facilitate communication between the school and its alumni, provide programs for professional growth, and enhance alumni relationships with the university and the Purdue Alumni Association. To learn more about the Purdue Technology Alumni Board, please use the Get Involved link on the Alumni and Friends page of the Purdue Polytechnic website. The Alumni Speaker Series is a monthly series created as an opportunity to engage technology alumni on topics that have broad interest to the alumni base. The presenters for each session will be technology alumni or Purdue Polytechnic faculty. If you are interested in presenting in a future session, or you have suggestions for topics of future sessions, please email techdev@purdue.edu with a brief synopsis of the proposed presentation. The only guidelines for the proposal are that the topic is of broad interest and the presenter is an alumnus or faculty member of Purdue Polytechnic Institute. We're very excited to feature our first panel presentation for the speaker series today on the topic of career resources for Purdue alumni. Joining us are Maureen Huffer-Landis, Amruta Inamdar, and Mike Ellis. I'll introduce each speaker throughout today's session. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the chat feature on the side of your screen to type your questions, and we will answer them as time allows. Our first panelist joins us from the Purdue Alumni Association. Maureen Huffer-Landis currently serves as the Director of Alumni Career Advancement for the Purdue Alumni Association and will share with us the benefits of Purdue Alumni Association membership. In 1995, Maureen earned a Master of Science degree in College Student Personnel Administration with a focus on career development and additional coursework in counseling. With over 25 years in the field, she possesses a comprehensive background serving domestic and international undergraduates, graduate students, and alumni at both private colleges and Big Ten universities. Before joining the Purdue Alumni Association, Maureen served master's level and undergraduate students for 13 years in Krannert School of Management. Welcome, Maureen, and take it away.
Thank you so much. I am so pleased to be here with all of you today. I wanted to share how you can become involved with the Purdue Alumni Association to help yourselves as you decide to look at your career, perhaps changing your pathing, perhaps you're moving on into some transitional areas of your life, such as you want to grow your career, you want to re-enter perhaps the workforce, maybe you're thinking of retirement and what you can do in retirement. And so as I go through my slides, I'm simply going to point out some of the different services and resources that are available to you dependent upon our 4 membership levels. You'll notice that my email address is mhuffer@purdue.edu. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. So our first level, let me advance this, happens to be our basic level. And what I have here is I'm showing you things that are circled. Those happen to be the things that within the basic level are more career oriented. And so we often have members only events. We have a technology platform called Brazen. You're noticing down here as I'm circling around it on the screen that we have some networking events that go on. We offer 2 each month, and you are able to participate in those. We also have different guest presenters who talk on different topics. And so, for example, this one in the left portion towards the middle of the screen, Build Your Career from Where You Are, happened to be our first presentation that we did in the webinar series with a partner who owns a career consulting firm who happens to be a Purdue alum, Julie Bauke of the Bauke Group. You also notice that we offer discounted pricing at Purdue alumni events. So for example, we right now are in a webinar series that we just concluded yesterday put on by Retreat, Reinvent, and Recharge. And so the price for that particular 6-week series and the reflection and the work with those presenters happen to be $200 for those who are members of the association and $249 for those who were not. So there's quite a nice savings of discounts when you participate. So online networking events, of course, I've just spoken about a few of those, but we have other events as well where people can participate in chats and do different things. As we continue on to our next level of membership, you're seeing that we have our plus level. What you continue to have would be everything that you had in the basic level, but then something of particular note that you would want to be aware of to help with your career development would be the access to the cultural, leadership, and affinity networks. On our page within the Alumni Association website, you happen to have an area called Communities. In the communities, you will see the different affinity groups. Those affinity groups often have their own programs, different things that sometimes we co-sponsor with them, some different things that you might want to become involved with. As you go to our next level, this is called our professional level of membership. And it and the Career Max level, which will follow, happen to be the most involved and supported as far as career resource opportunities. What you'll notice here is that through membership, you happen to have discounts for Purdue Global courses. Now, if you are an Indiana resident, you already have those discounts, but for those of you outside of state, you would receive those discounts. You also happen to have different savings to participate in our programs that are here through campus, the Six Sigma and project management courses. We happen to have a database that has a lot of great research tools as far as employers, industries, different trends that might be of interest. You don't have to be a job seeker in order to take advantage of this. It might be that you'd like to do some research for your own organization that you already represent. But of course, we happen to have the webinar series Remain in Place. Sometimes we offer specific webinar series just for the professional and the Career Max level. And so in this case, they would just be advertised to those levels and be available to those. We have 2 resources that are just available once you get into the professional and the Career Max levels. One of which happens to be, you're seeing here, Clifton Strengths, the top 5. Clifton Strengths happens to be a very popular tool used right now in the area of professional and career development. It is a resource that looks at 34 different strengths. However, by taking this tool through our association, you'll get a top 5 report that will talk about your top 5 strengths. And basically what it's talking about is how to turn talents that you possess into strengths that you can utilize very well within the workplace, within your personal life, etc. When you move to the Career Max level, you actually expand that and get the full 34 report. So that's a difference between the professional level and the Career Max level. Both of them happen to then also have access to Career Shift, which is a great resource. I call it your online Rolodex. It allows you to do research on companies, keep track of your contacts, keep track of your career search. You can do a lot of research, not just on the employers, but you can do research on trends in the industry. I have found it very, very interesting as far as being able to also pull up job postings. It pulls from everywhere. So those would be websites that are company oriented, as well as those major sites like Indeed, etc. It's a great resource and has been very useful to a number of people who have actually used it. As we move to our final level, you're seeing in front of you Career Max. The difference between Career Max and professional happens to be this very bottom portion of your screen. So we happen to be a partner with LinkedIn Learning, and so you can do courses such as maybe you want to do project management or pick up something on Excel. But you also receive the one-on-one support of me. I happen to be a career counselor, and you then can actually schedule appointments on a number of different topical areas, including your job search, or what are you planning to do as you transition through the different phases of your career development, one-on-one resume reviewing, as well as going through how to use your strengths to your maximum potential. And so that would be a discussion about this, which would be the strongest outcomes possible with Clifton Strengths, that report. Thank you for letting me share with you what we do at the Purdue Alumni Association. We do a lot of different things, and I'd be happy to talk with any of you to help you get steered in the right direction, to utilize the resources, and to figure out if there's a certain membership level that might serve you best. Our website is at the bottom of your screen, basically www.purduealumni.org.
Thank you, Maureen, for sharing these resources with us today.
You are welcome.
Next up is Dr. Amruta Inamdar, Career Services Consultant for Purdue Center for Career Opportunities. To learn more about Amruta and the CCO, please visit cco.purdue.edu. Amruta, we are looking forward to hearing about the resources and services that are available to Purdue alumni through Center for Career Opportunities.
Yeah, thank you, Joe, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here and chat with whoever signed in to learn about the resources we have for Purdue alumni. So we're the centralized career services office on campus, and we have a really generous generous access for alumni. So I'm going to walk you through all that we offer. On the screen right now are the 3 different ways to reach out to us and contact us, but I'll be sharing more detailed information as we go through. Broadly covering 2 different things, so CCO services available to y'all, as well as the different resources. We have a ton, but I decided to focus on the 3 that are the most used. And then, happy to answer more questions. Feel free to email me once we're done, and I'd be happy to talk more about all the ways that we could help you. So the first screen I'm sharing is the CCO website, the main page. And the tab that I have sort of had the drop-down menu open for is the student tab. I have this here to show you all the different things we have available that are public access, right? So all the information available in the postgrad surveys, if you're thinking of going on to professional schools, job search toolkit, the handbook, all of these are available to anybody who has internet access. So we encourage you all to look at this just for self-review and getting sort of information to help yourselves as you're going through your job search or career changes. The alumni tab is the next thing I'm going to talk about here, which is this one here. So what we offer, my CCO, the handbook, and then starting salaries. So this is probably the first page you're going to end up going to when you check in as alumni. I'm going to show you the what we offer section so you all can see all the ways in which we could help you. But I do want to talk about a couple of things on this page as well, which is the featured events calendar. Make sure to check what's upcoming because you have continued access to every event on campus as an alum, and then all the quick links that we talk about in the alumni section as well. Finally, the summer drop-ins. These are the hours for just through August, so in the afternoons. If you're off campus, feel free to call us. We'll do a quick conversation with you. You do not have to be physically on campus or anywhere near campus to use the services that we have. This next slide is the what we offer section for alumni. So I'm not going to read through everything on this page. There's a ton of text here, but what the highlights here are this section, lifelong access, and we're not joking about that. You have lifelong access to everything that is housed within my CCO, which is the online jobs portal that sort of, if you have a PUID, you have a My CCO account. There are a lot of services that we link through My CCO. So long as you know your PUID, you have access to those services forever and ever. You also have lifelong access to our in-person services. So like I said, 15-minute quick conversations about resume reviews. Maybe you've got two competing job offers and you want to just talk them through with us and sort of practice negotiation. Happy to do all of that. Feel free to call us. We have a number you can call us at, this one here. Or if you prefer, you can email us at askcco@purdue.edu. Send us a resume, send us quick questions. We do respond to you within 3 to 5 business days, but we'll definitely get back to you. Sometimes what happens is the question is too detailed for a quick email, and so then we'll have you maybe make an appointment. And this is where there's a bit of a differentiation in the lifelong access. So if you're within 2 years of degree completion, you have access to every single service that a current student has throughout the year. If you're beyond 2 years, then the coaching appointments are available to you during the summer months. But everything else is, so drop-in access is still available, as is My CCO. And this is a good time to move on to My CCO. So the alumni page I was on will tell you how to access this account if you don't already have one. But there's some things I've highlighted here, right? So this job section, these are jobs posted exclusively for Purdue students and alumni. You can set up multiple job alerts, and I set some up just to show y'all. They happen to be all STEM related, but there's all kinds of jobs available. But set up multiple job alerts, and then the system will email you whenever jobs meeting your criteria show up. And as you can see, there's a lot of them. We also use this to send announcements to all folks who have sort of activated their MyCCO account. As I mentioned previously, you have access to all the career fairs on campus. There are some, like the computer science fair is only for computer science majors. So if you're not a CS major, you can't attend that. But every other fair that's open to all majors, you can attend for as long as you want. So don't hesitate to stop by. You can also reach out to employers, and then that information is available here to connect with them on a one-on-one level. The last thing I want to talk to you within My CCO is this job search preparation resource tab. So big interview is one I'm going to talk about in a little more detail, but the rest of these are just different ways to get document reviews, to explore careers, and this new one, Diligence Lab, is to clean up your social media presence. It's a fantastic resource. Strongly encourage you all to set up your Diligence Lab account and make sure that you're professional on all your social media platforms. This is the one I mentioned very briefly, which is big interviews. So a really good way to do mock interview practice just for yourself. There's different sets of questions. I do want to say they're all behavioral interviews. These are not technical interviews, but then there's different kinds of behavioral interviews that come up with different contexts, right? So uncomfortable questions that they really shouldn't be asking you, how do you answer those? If you're thinking of a career change, if you're thinking of professional schools, all sorts of different contexts. So definitely something to check out on your own. And then as a follow-up, you can also do a mock interview appointment, but that's after you've done the big interview prep. And then this last resource I want to talk to you all about is called Career Research Portal. There are 4 sections to it. There's so much information I couldn't screenshot all of it, so just one main page. But especially section 1, this career planning section, if you're ever thinking of employment abroad, then this section on diversity resources or employment abroad, and then jobs by discipline will show you all the different job boards by discipline. So starting with sort of humanities ones, education, engineering has its own separate section, lots and lots of different job boards. I do want to say that these are not Purdue specific. These are public access job boards, so you should definitely feel free to use those and continue your search. And like I said, if you're thinking of making career appointments, then summer is definitely an option. You can reach out to us. But if you're within 2 years of graduation, anytime during the year, we're happy to work with you and help you figure out career plans and then make sure you get the jobs you're interested in. That wraps it up for me. Our contact information here, happy to answer questions and also ready to send the screen back to Joe.
Thank you, Amruta, for sharing and helping us navigate the services available from the CCO.
Yeah, happy to.
Yep. We have take a minute or two now to answer a couple of questions from the audience. Please type your questions in the chat box on the side of your screen, and we'll moderate them as they come in. Do you have questions?
Okay, we have one question from Dustin. Are there some examples or course descriptions that we can find somewhere for the courses mentioned earlier? For example, Six Sigma or project management?
Hello, this is Maureen, and I think you're probably referring to things that we have on the Purdue Alumni website. If you wanted to contact me specifically, contact me at mhuffer@purdue.edu. However, you can also go directly onto our website for www.purduealumni.org, and you can look at that information there. But I'd be happy to help you personally. If you have certain courses you're interested in, I could help guide you.
Thank you. And now rounding out our panel today is a 1990 alumnus from the School of Engineering Technology, Mike Ellis. Having spent nearly 10 years of his career developing business relationships with some of the world's top executives, Mike knows a thing or two about assessing needs, paying attention to details, finding meaningful solutions, and following up to ensure customer satisfaction and often repeat business. Particularly among today's skeptical, message-saturated consumers, just being able to connect with people is more than a talent. It's really a calling. According to Mike, people have a tendency to make things complicated. I believe in starting with the end in mind, match talented people with the companies that need them. From there, it's just a matter of listening to what people really want and knowing where to find it. He continues, the employers I talk to want smart, independent thinking, versatile employees who are looking for a career in this industry, not just a job. Prior to starting GTR, Mike worked for a management consultancy firm where his talent for working with people was used to ferret out client needs and match them with the firm's services. His success in this role earned him the right to develop a formal process based on his efforts and then assemble and deploy a team to do the same. Mike holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Integrated Manufacturing Technology from Purdue University. Welcome, Mike, and we're glad that you could join us today.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you everyone for joining in today. So I'm going to talk resume. So you've decided you're potentially looking to make a change, you're thinking about it, maybe you're in the job market, maybe you're presented with an opportunity. So what I want to do is just talk briefly about resumes. And, you know, I'm hoping that maybe there's a couple takeaways. I did a quick search on Google the other day just to see what happens if you put the word resume in Google, and there were more than 1 billion returns. So there's all the probably things you would ever need out on Google, but these are just some ideas that I had from the years of looking at a lot of resumes. So without further ado, we'll roll on here. So I was thinking about this the other day. You know, our current country, we like to do things very quickly. We like to tweet. I'm thinking maybe someday there'll be a tweet option where you don't even have to do a resume. But until then, you know, we'll talk about resumes. So thinking about a paradigm shift a little bit, sometimes people think about jobs and meaning that I need a job and then so I need a resume. But what I want to talk about a little bit is sometimes having a resume ready for the right opportunity. And I see it a lot of times where you may talk to someone, but it's been, you know, 10 years since they've done their resume. Maybe it's been a few years. Maybe they've forgotten some of the things they did even last year. So what I'm suggesting is, you know, a lot of times in the marketplace, what we refer to as both active and passive candidates. Active candidates that are certainly looking for something new, something different. Sometimes life happens, you know, spouses change jobs, families move, those things happen. So people are looking. But then there's a lot of times where people hadn't really thought about doing something different, perhaps they're approached, and those may be more passive. And, there's some debate on how many jobs are out there, but I've seen numbers actually even as high as 80% of jobs that aren't posted online. So a lot of times organizations, they just don't have all the positions out there. So again, having your resume ready for those things. So keep calm, let's go. We're going to talk about resumes. And the first thing is sometimes people get frustrated because, when people apply for jobs, look for positions, they feel like this, that whoever's looking at the resume, they have a whole stack of them on their desk. And so the question is, what's going to set you apart? How do you, present your resume so that, it gets looked at? Now, here's some data, again, talking about what really happens with the resume. And there's a couple of key numbers on here, percentages or ratios that I throw out there. It says a good 40% of hiring managers actually spend less than a minute looking at your resume. So when you think of that, it's like, okay, how do I make it stand out? 75% of HR managers are often, they'll catch a lie on a resume, something's not right, or they know that can't be true, or whatever it is. Unprofessional email addresses. It's interesting, even in the position that I'm in where I'm dealing with companies, I've had actually hiring managers ask me, is that their real email address? And so, make sure your email address is professional. The other thing is an estimated 77% of hiring managers immediately disqualify because of grammatical mistakes and typos. Again, these are all things you've heard before, but you would be astonished about how many times it still happens. And you can see by the numbers, it's kind of happening a lot. So just to recap, just what is a resume? Well, it's your advertisement. It's talking about who you are, what you can do. It's a quick snapshot of, again, your skills, your professional, personal, and educational, and your work qualifications. And it's about your future, not all about your past. So it's about the skills that you've developed over the years, having done what you've done, but then what is it that you can now do going forward? Why do you need a resume? Again, I've talked about it, is, to get an interview. I always say at the end, I like to note, you can't get the job, but it could cause you not to get the job. So again, the resume is not going to be the thing that, is the ooh and ahs, the new company, but if it's done incorrectly or there's some major glitches on it, it could cost you. So keep that in mind. What it's not an autobiography, it's not a confessional. And as I've got noted here, you do not have to tell everything, only what's marketable and relevant to the position. Some people will even cater their resume specifically to a type of role that they're after. If they've got some skills that really they should pull out, you may do that as well. And again, it's not going to get you the job, but it will get you the interview. So in resumes, there's several different types. If you, again, Google it, you can find many different forms. But there are really kind of three types that I like to focus on: chronological, functional, and a hybrid. And, there's kind of a combination. The hybrid, I think, is kind of the one that you see the most, which combines the skills and the work experiences. But the chronological can be, if you're very closely related to that desired job, if you've already got the skills, then you might want to show that, which just goes through kind of the timeline. The functional can be used, if you're looking to make a change. And I'll go through each of these just briefly, but those are the most common types. So the chronological resumes, they're going to list your work experience by dates in reverse chronological order, and your most recent experience is going to be at the top. The main skills and qualifications aren't necessarily highlighted. And again, this is useful if you've had some consistent work history with growth and achievement, so it's easy to see where you've moved up or changed positions within a company. And again, there's no gaps in the employment or remaining in the same industry. If you look at it, this is just a quick example. that you can see the resume on the left actually, it seems to highlight more of what they did, and the one on the right actually shows a little bit more the chronological order. So you can step through very easily, where they were at and what they did. So again, I like to remind people you can't fit it all on a resume. And it's funny, I've seen resumes as long as 11 pages. And I don't know how long it must have taken them to write that, because it's just astounding. So the corner, or the picture I have down the lower right-hand corner, is just be strategic with your resume. Put those things on there that have really highlighted what you've done. Use numbers, use ratios, use those sort of things, and bullet points. So the functional resume, it actually shows the work history, but it's minimized. And again, this is very useful if you're changing careers, or maybe you've been out of the job market for a little while and you're looking to re-enter. So again, it doesn't emphasize the gap that maybe you have, but it really highlights the experience that you have. And it talks about, highlights major areas for accomplishments, strengths, and abilities in order of importance to that particular job or employer. Again, here's a quick example of a functional resume. It's a little small here, but you can kind of see under the experience and skills, it's really talking about what are those key things that this individual has, and what are they, and not as focused on the timing and how long they were in those positions and so forth. And then really the third type is a hybrid resume. And this is, again, the one that if I had to pick one, I like this one. But again, it is really dependent upon your situation too. But this one combines them both. So it is the best of both. It has the qualifications section, and it may highlight some key strengths. Work history section may emphasize and results instead of the job duties. So this would be just kind of a quick look at what does maybe that look like. It's got the company name here. It's got how long they've been in the position. It's got the title, and then it's got some significant bullets here that show and define, those accomplishments that they've had. So when you're thinking about writing your resume, a lot of times people think, it's very tedious, it's time consuming, I can't remember what I've done. Well, where do you begin? So if you haven't done a resume in a while, here's some quick steps. I mean, obviously a piece of paper, and then just go through and without trying to format it or anything up front, just put down all the things that you've done, your work experience, your education, your skills, and so forth. And then if you've got transferable skills because you're kind of making a career change, then note those as well. And then come back and plug it into a format. I know I've talked to people in the past that try and plug everything into a format up front and it doesn't work and they forget things. I'm like, don't worry about the format. Just get the significant things down on paper first that you've done, and then we can come back and clean it up and so forth. As far as layout and appearance, there's different opinions, obviously, again, and takes on it. I always suggest kind of white paper, off-white paper. 1 to 2 pages really is kind of the key. I've seen people that have some really advanced degrees and maybe like in a research type position where they've written papers and have done presentations. Those people tend to have longer resumes. And so what I usually suggest is have an executive summary, which is maybe a 1 to 2 page resume. And then if you need a full detailed resume, then have that available too. So if you're in that sort of scenario where you've got a lot of things and you just can't get it to 1 to 2 pages, then you might think about doing that. Talks about fonts, white space, bullets. The other big thing is double checking or triple checking maybe spelling and grammar check, because I just see that oftentimes, especially a lot of times people on software names and so forth. Here's a quick example. I see a lot of AutoCAD people, and there's a variety of ways. Sometimes I've seen spell checker automatically change it for them. So just keep an eye on that. Resume components, again, this is pretty self-explanatory, but at the top. But the one thing I point out here is make sure you check your phone number and your email address, especially if you've had a resume and just over a course of years, you kind of just keep tweaking it. Sometimes people forget about their phone numbers and addresses or things change. Again, at the top, I would have something kind of a similar format. It's easy to identify who you are. It's got maybe a statement about what you've done. Sometimes people like to have job objectives down at the bottom, just describing kind of what they're after as well. The resume components, again, it's really the body of your resume. It's your qualifications, it's your work experience, education, skills, abilities, and other. Again, just highlighted there. The body, now, this is something that's kind of been developed over the years, but this format really seems to stand out a little bit when you're looking at your qualifications and really trying to have those lumped together. Because again, if you remember that slide I had in the beginning where the hiring managers are spending virtually no time looking at your resume. They have a stack of them. They're running through them as fast as they can. And so if yours is set up in this fashion, sometimes it helps get you noticed because there's key qualifications that you may have that are an instant match for what they're looking for. Automatically, your resume gets put in a different pile. So just keep that in mind, that that's a kind of a quick way to highlight those skills. Since you know that you're going to have less than a minute, their eyes are going to be on your resume. Make it easy for them to pick you out. On the body, again, I like this part here because it's got the company, it's got the name, and a lot of times a sentence with just saying who they are or what they do can be very helpful because not everyone's familiar with who the different companies are and so forth. And so if this highlights the company, tells how big they are, how many offices they have, employees, revenue, and so forth, that can be key. And then the other thing I'll just highlight quickly here is just this part that says, so what? As you're putting your accomplishments together, write your accomplishments out, and then after you've done that, ask yourself, once you read that, does that generate a so what? Or is that, okay, that's good, that's relevant, and so forth. So just make sure your accomplishments stand out and so forth. Again, on the body, this is just highlighting the education, certifications, awards, having these things here, list the universities and dates, the certs dates, if they're active or non-active, and so forth. References, people will ask me about references like, hey, should I put those on the resumes? Should I not? I usually suggest something like references available upon request. And then that allows you, if you interview with someone, provide your resume, and they say, hey, we want to talk to your references. At that point, you can give them the references, but then you can also give your references a heads up that I've shared it with this company. Here's what they're looking for as far as a position for me. And versus if you just provide them on here and someone just randomly calls your references, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So a couple don'ts, these are, again, are self-explanatory, I think, but worth mentioning because I've seen them all happen. People going on and on about interest and hobbies and, and so forth, references available upon request, obviously know things around your birth, your height, your weight, all those sort of things, and just be truthful. I only put this story on here because I just remember that where this gentleman was going to be the coach of Notre Dame, and he had had some false things on his resume, and it never did get the job. So be honest, don't put anything, don't stretch the truth, don't, expand your numbers. It is what it is. So make sure you're just truthful on that. Wording, use action verbs, phrases that focus really on your successes and accomplishments, bulleted, past tense, again, be honest. At the end, what I always say is after you've written it, you might give it a day or two, set it aside, bring it back up, look at it again, ask some other people to look at it, because we always seem to think that we see it in one way and it makes a lot of sense. But sometimes if you have someone else look at it, especially if they're not familiar with maybe your industry or something, they may be able to point some things out. And the last bullet is, remember, you're never finished. I always encourage people that, whether it's once a year when you do your taxes or once a quarter, but pull your resume out and look at it. And what have you done? Have you accomplished some things? Have some things changed that you could update? Because it just makes it so much easier then versus, man, I haven't done one in 5 years. I can't remember, then it's daunting and it becomes tough. Again, this is just a picture to remind you, the top is what you see. It seems very clear to you on your resume. It's all laid out. It all makes sense. But if you ask someone else to read it, it may look like, that picture on the bottom. So I use the Proverbs there. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. So if you can have a couple people look at it at least, can't hurt. The other thing I remind people is once you've done your resume, make sure you update your LinkedIn profile so that it's relevant too. Because I've seen this happen where people have a resume, the resume is totally accurate, and then lo and behold, a hiring manager looks at their LinkedIn profile and says, wait a minute, why does it show this? Or how come that? Or, it causes some pause. So just make sure they're synced and in running in parallel. So once your resume is done, just a couple different things. Resume's done, now what do you do? Well, the first thing is maybe have a strategy. I always like to think of having two pieces of paper. Now that I'm looking, I know I'm looking for an opportunity. I want to be ready. What is it that you want? And what is it that you don't want? And that pertains to industry, the role, the location, the salary, and so forth. And I bring this up because I've had this happen multiple times where candidates, I'll talk to them, maybe they're a passive candidate, but they say, yeah, I'm open to anything. What do you got? Well, I start telling them about the description and they're like, well, okay, I don't want to go here. I don't want that kind of industry. I'm only looking for this sort of role. So they have a strategy. They just didn't really understand that that's really what they were looking for. So just think about that as you've got your resume done. I always say use multiple tools. Now, we heard about at the beginning of the presentation. I mean, Purdue, there are so many great tools there. I think you could literally find everything you need there and not have to look further. So certainly take advantage of those, just for everything from, again, looking at your resume, skills that you're looking to add on, jobs, coaching, you name it. That's all there at Purdue. And then if you're still looking for some other things, some other quick things would be Indeed.com. That's really a great little service that's out there where you can set up queries to look for different types of roles, especially if you're looking at different areas, like you're here in Indiana, but you want to move to DC and you've got a very specific role. You can run queries that are specific to what you're after, type of role, and so forth. And you can even set it up to get email alerts. Find a recruiter. I say that because recruiters that are very specific or niche focused have access to just a lot of companies, a lot of hiring managers that, again, you may not see or know about, or even sometimes are present. And we talked about at the beginning of this presentation just about, some percentage of jobs aren't even, listed out there. The last thing is working your network. I mean, you have people that you're connected with on LinkedIn that, people are connected to people who are connected to people. And so leveraging that a little bit, associations, those are a good way to network as well. And there's other tools as well, but those can certainly be some key ones to help you. Don't worry, I always put this in here. People think right away that it's instantly going to work quickly. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's some rejection. Again, this is the reality. Everybody's super busy. Everybody's trying to do 10 jobs at once. A lot of times that stack on the desk really is happening. sometimes more so than others. So keep that in mind. The yes awaits you. I always say a lot of times when there's several no's, that's good because you're getting closer to the yes. So what I would say to you now is what Brian Tracy says is do it now, do it now, do it now. Pull your resume out, look at it. If you haven't looked at it in a while, you might update it, put some new accomplishments on it. Or if you've done it and you haven't had anyone look at it, again, have someone else take a look at it, use the resources at Purdue and so forth. So anyway, I thank you very much for the time. If you have any questions, you can contact me. I'll be happy to help you, and I wish you the best. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and we have time for some questions. If people have written in the question and answer panel, we have time to answer them now. And Derek, have we had any questions come in?
Yes, we have one question from Dustin. Considering the different styles or formats of resumes mentioned, do you recommend that people maintain a resume of each format?
I would say if you've had the consistent work history and you don't have a lot of gaps, I would probably just stick with the chronological. If you've had some gaps, again, that I would probably go towards, the other version. But again, it's probably dictated by what's your scenario and what will highlight your skills and accomplishments the most. But I don't think you need to keep two different versions. Or if you think you kind of need both, then go the hybrid and just combine them together.
Great, thank you, Mike. And any other questions, Derek?
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, Mike, thanks for helping us all learn more about the resume writing process and how to sell our skills during the process.
You're welcome.
Once again, we'd like to thank all of our panelists for joining us today, and a special thank you to all of our attendees. We hope you'll join us for the next session of the Alumni Speaker Series on June 18th at noon Eastern. David Perkey, a fellow alumni board member and a 1983 alumnus, will cover the past, present, and future of the cloud from the perspective of enterprise IT. To stay connected to the Alumni Speaker Series, please bookmark the Alumni Speaker Series page using the link on the Alumni and Friends page at the Purdue Polytechnic website. Thank you again. Have a great Techie Tuesday.